Hello learners, welcome to another session of PGDSS, and in today's session we will talk about SDG 6, tracking the global progress. In today's session we will learn about the major aims of SDG 6, linkage of SDG 6 with other SDGs, and target-wise progress made globally regarding SDG 6. First of all, I like to give you an overview regarding the SDG 6, and this SDG talks about clean water and sanitation for all. It ensures sustainable water management and sanitation practices. SDG 6 emphasizes on integrated nature of water and sanitation, and it also talks about water quality, affordability, availability and accessibility. The focus of this SDG is on wastewater treatment, maintenance of hygiene, eradication of water scarcity, and at the same time it talks about integrated water management and equitable sharing of water resources. If we talk about the current challenges which are there for the water sector, these are rapid population growth. As the population of the world is growing rapidly, so is the water demand, and therefore the scarcity of water, it is increasing all over the globe. Rapid urbanization leads to concretization, and that's why it leads to hampering of water recharging. Therefore, the groundwater resources, they get diminished. At the same time, urbanization leads to increase in the demand of water, because large number of people, they are living in urban spaces. Therefore, the water demand, it also increases rapidly in urban areas, leading to water scarcity. Then agriculture sector is also one of the major sector which is responsible for major amount of freshwater withdrawals all across the world. According to one estimate, more than 70% of freshwater withdrawals is made by agriculture sector alone. Then industries, they require fresh water for production purpose, and then for the production of hydroelectricity in energy sector, or for raising biofuels, we need water. And then water scarcity is also increasing because of misuse and improper management of water resources. Over extraction of groundwater is also one of them. Then because of use of agrochemicals and discharge of wastewater from industries and domestic household sewage into the water bodies, it is leading to water pollution. Similarly, because of the plastics, especially single-use plastics, the freshwater bodies, they are getting choked up. Then because of the climate change, the rainfall pattern, it's getting highly erratic, and at the same time the glaciers which are storing large amount of fresh water, they are also melting or receding rapidly, which is basically impacting the availability of water resources. Now we will talk about how SDG 6 it is linked with other SDGs. SDG 6 is basically linked with SDG 1, that is no poverty, because poverty is related to unequitable distribution of resources which also cover water resources. Therefore, if we achieve SDG 6, it will be helpful for achieving SDG 1 also. So then SDG 6 is related to SDG 2, which is zero hunger. As we all know, agriculture is impossible without water resources and irrigation facilities. So for adequate food production, we need water, and that is SDG 2 is related with SDG 6. Then SDG 11, that is sustainable cities and communities, it is also related with SDG 6 because it talks about efficient management of water resources in urban areas. Then we have SDG 12, that is sustainable consumption and production. It is also linked with SDG 6, as it talks about, or it includes, the efficient resources of water resources, especially in industries, so that the water footprint can be reduced and the demand of water in industries can be reduced, and the water pollution which is emanating from the industry sector, it can be controlled. Then we have SDG 13, that is climate action, which is also linked with SDG 6. SDG 13 talks about controlling the global warming and climate change because of human actions, and it aims at adaptation and resilience and building resilience towards the climate change. And it also covers the water resources. Efficient use of water resources can help communities to adapt to the challenges which are posed by the global warming and climate change. SDG 14, that is life below water, it is also linked with SDG 6, because freshwater ecosystems, they sustain large amount of biodiversity, and therefore the SDG 14, it is linked with SDG 6. Similarly, SDG 15, that is life on land, it covers the freshwater ecosystems, and therefore SDG 15, it is also linked with SDG 6. So attaining the SDG 6 will help in achieving SDG 15 also, and vice versa. Now we will talk about the target wise progress made regarding SDG 6 globally. If we talk about progress made regarding target 6.1 and 6.2, which are achieving universal and equitable access to safe drinking water and achieving access to equitable and adequate sanitation and hygiene, and end to open defecation practices. So here we can see that in 2022, 2.2 billion people, they still lack access to safe drinking water, and 3.4 billion people, they lack safe sanitation services. 1.9 billion people, they lack basic hygiene services. If collectively all the nations, they have to achieve these two targets by 2030, then 5 to 8 times increased efforts they are required in this regard. While the whole world, it is on track for achieving end to open defecation practice, and it will be totally eliminated by the year 2030. In these three graphs, we can clearly see the current trend of progress which is made regarding target 6.1 and 6.2. In the first graph, one can clearly see that at the current rate of progression globally, by 2030, only 81% of the global population will have access to safely managed drinking water, while 94% of the global population will have access to basic drinking water if the current rate of progress continues. The second graph, it depicts the progress which are made globally regarding end to open defecation practices, basic sanitation and safely managed sanitation. And it is projected that at the current rate of progression regarding safely managed sanitation, only 67% of the global population will have safely managed sanitation by 2030, and only 90% of the world population will have basic sanitation facility by 2030. As discussed previously, the world is on track of achieving no to open defecation practice by the year 2030. If we see the third graph, which talks about the basic hygiene, the current rate, if the world made progress at the current rate, only 78% of the global population will have the basic hygiene facility or covered under the basic hygiene program by the year 2030. Now we will talk about the progress which is made regarding target 6.3, which emphasizes on improving water quality by reducing water pollution and minimizing the release of hazardous chemicals and waste material into the water bodies. And at present in 2022, if we talk about, an estimated 58% of wastewater generated by households in 140 countries is basically safely treated. Next, we will talk about the progress made regarding target 6.4, which talks about substantially increasing the water use efficiency. And in this sector, we can see that by 2020, 18.2% water stress is there all across the world, which is well under the safe limits. However, we can see the regional variations in the water stress all across the world, especially the regions of Southern Asia and Northern Africa. They are critical in terms of water stress because of high demand of water, especially in Southern Asia, and little recharge and less recharge of water. At the same time, we can see that in between the period of 2015 to 2020, there is an 18% increase in the water stress levels, especially in the region of Northern Africa. In this global map, we can clearly see the blue regions, the dark blue regions, they depict the critical zones, and we can clearly see that Northern Africa and countries in Southern Asia, they are very crucial in terms of water stress, as they are suffering from the high water stress. In this graph, we can clearly see the freshwater withdrawals they are made in 2017 according to the various continents. And in this we can see, especially the Asia, it dominates the whole world in the freshwater withdrawals. Specifically, the withdrawals made by the agriculture sector, it dominates as compared to the withdrawals which are made by industrial sector and for the domestic purpose. Asia is followed by North America, followed by Europe and Africa, while least number of withdrawals they are made by South Africa and Australia regions. If we see the sector wise distribution of freshwater withdrawals, the agriculture sector basically dominates all other sectors, whether it is domestic sector or industrial sector, in case of freshwater withdrawals all across the world. Target 6.5 basically talks about implementing integrated water resource management through transboundary cooperation. And if we see the global progress which has been made in this regard, 50% countries still lack effective framework for sustainable water management. At the same time, there is lack of cross-sector coordination regarding water use and between the agriculture sector, industrial sector and energy production. 32 countries out of 153 countries that share transboundary rivers, lakes and aquifers have 90% or more of these water covered under any operational agreement. Next, we will see what are the progress which are made under the target 6.6, which aims to protect and restore water related ecosystems, which include the forest, rivers, wetlands, aquifers. So here we can see that one of 5 river basins, they are experiencing high fluctuation in surface water during last 5 years because of the climate change process. According to one estimate, 81% of species which are dependent on wetlands, they have declined very rapidly. At the same time, because of increase in population and land cover changes, and along with climate change, they are impacting the wetlands and other freshwater ecosystem. Next, we will talk about target 6.A and the progress which has been made under this target. This target talks about official development assistance, especially to the developing countries, so that they can ensure integrated management of water resources. So here we can see that there is decrease in the ODA disbursement, especially in the water sector, between 2015 and 2021. An estimated 15% decline has been observed in the assistance which has been doled out to the developing countries. Total ODA commitments, they have reduced by 13%, and these commitments, they have peaked basically by the year 2017, and afterwards they are continuously declining. If we talk about the progress which is made regarding target 6.B, which talks about local community participation in ensuring effective water management, here we can see that 70% of rural drinking water and water resources management. However, if we talk about percentage of countries with high level of participation of local communities in decision making regarding water resources management, here we can see that still there is a need of progress in this regard. Less than 40% of the countries, they have high level of participation of local communities in water management decisions. Next, we will talk about the concept of integrated water resource management. Integrated water resource management basically talks about coordinated development and management of water resources. It aims to maximize the economic and social welfare, and at the same time it also ensures equitable distribution and access to the water resources. This management, IWRM, ensures no compromise on the sustainability of vital water related ecosystems, and it adopts a cross-sectoral approach related to water management. I like to mention here that there is a nexus which exists between the agriculture, industry and energy sector related to the sharing of water resources. Here we can see that, for example, in energy sector, we can see if the hydroelectric dams, they are constructed, so the drinking water purpose is basically generated, which can be supplied to upstream communities, and but at the same time the downstream communities, they suffer because the water resources they reach less in the downstream regions, and hence the agriculture activity is it suffers in the downstream regions. At the same time, the similar pattern can be seen in the energy sector, where biofuels, the cultivation of the biofuel crops can help in controlling the release of greenhouse gases which are coming from the combustion of fossil fuels. But at the same time, high amount of water it is required for the production of some of the biofuel crops, which can result in depletion of freshwater resources or put stress on existing water resources. So therefore, a cross-sectoral approach is very necessary, especially for management of water resources. So in the end, let us sum up what we have learned in today's session. SDG 6 aims to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. SDG 6 consists of 8 targets and 11 indicators. Globally, 2.2 billion people, they still lack access to safe drinking water, while 3.4 billion people they lack access to safe sanitation. Achieving the target 6.1 and 6.2 of SDG 6 by 2030 will require an increase of 5 to 8 times effort if the progress is made at the current rate. 50% of the countries they still lack effective framework for sustainable water management. These are some of the references. Thank you.